Welcome back, YouTube. We're going to be talking about all the things that you can do during the home build to make the actual build process as stress-free as possible. You've probably heard it from other people, you've probably researched it yourself, you've probably actually experienced it if you have just started building, but there's things that can cause you anxiety, there's things that can cause you stress, things go wrong. Building is such a massive project and there's so many things to keep on top of that it's quite common that stuff doesn't quite always go to plan. So basically I want to help you with some of the things that I found really work with keeping the build process as stress-free as possible. So stay tuned to find out. I guess the most important thing to start with is not all builders are built the same.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
So some builders have more inclusions than others. Some of those inclusions are higher quality or more luxurious than others. Like you might have standard high ceilings in the living areas included from one builder. Essentially, it is worth picking and choosing and doing your research before you decide. The most important thing when partner and I chose our builder was the actual connection that we had with the building consultant. Don't underestimate the connection that you build with that person because they are with you for a very long time in the beginning part of that journey. Make sure that you form a really good connection with that building consultant and make sure you ask questions about their background experience too, because that ends up making a difference. If they have experience in design, which our building consultant did, that actually goes a long way when it comes to building a really functional home, and not too many changes should happen after the fact when, you know, the engineers start to actually see what's possible with the designs. Always ask questions. When you're building a home, being shy or conservative about asking questions, I mean, there's not really any time or room for it. You need to ask and find out about it, but there's always the right way and the wrong way to go about it. So when you're asking questions, always be open. Don't be closed-minded like you already have the answer or think you've researched the answer. Probably the most important point on my list, that is building good rapport with all your touch points throughout the build. So from your building consultant to your pre-start person, the accounts person in the office, and especially your site supervisor. Like, that is key. Building a really good relationship with your site supervisor is the most important, because if you are pleasant to deal with and friendly and positive, then he will also return that, hopefully, because that's the experience we've had. I've developed that relationship with our site supervisor that I can ask silly questions and I don't need to feel, I feel a little bit silly about it, but he always reassures me that obviously no question is too stupid.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
Because it's a big amount of money that you're putting forward at the end of the day. So develop that relationship with your site supervisor. Simple things like even buying them coffee, taking coffee when you're meeting them on site. Such a small thing, but goes a really long way. Another thing that has been key to my sanity throughout this process, bear in mind it is quite a long process from the time where we purchased the land and then started to look at designing, looking at the zoning of the land and seeing what we could build. We're almost 2 years in and the house is almost finished. So you spend quite a lot of time with your site supervisor, but also getting to know that process. You need to essentially become the project manager behind the scenes. Show your site supervisor their job is to make sure that your build runs as smoothly as possible and to the plans, but no one knows your house better than you. So it's so important that you also stay on top of things. Obviously work gets in the way, kids, relationships, your social life. So it gets hard to keep on top of those things, but take notes whenever you have meetings. Try to, whenever the site supervisor invites you on site, accept those invitations. You want to be on site as much as possible so you see the progress and you can match that to what you signed off on, because there's a few things, more than a few things, that popped up along the way that my partner and I identified, and they've been able to be fixed before they got to the point of no return. For example, something that actually happened to my uncle back in Sydney when he built a home is he didn't have the time to constantly check in and see how things were going. He just put some blind faith in his building supervisor. At the end of the day, he has a beautiful home, but the ceiling heights in his living space don't match his alfresco. And every time I visit him, he talks about it. You don't want to be one of those people. And ceiling heights is something that once you get, far enough into the build, you can't come back from that. You can't lift those ceilings higher. So take notes, write down key dates so that you also know if you're running ahead of schedule or behind schedule as well. Finally, my last tip is, in every interaction that you have, just be positive and be polite. Just even the mindset that you have building a home, don't go into the whole process being anxious already. Little hiccups will, show up along the way, but it's all about how you deal with that and your approach to that. If you are, quite a positive person and you exude that positivity, then there's ways around things and there's fixes. And that's also when I've just had conversations with the site supervisor. He's told me about some shocking experiences he's had with some clients. I guess the common theme is that they were extremely negative about the whole experience and they almost expected things to go wrong. And then when they went wrong, they kind of justified, and say, oh, I knew everything was going to go wrong. That's not a great attitude to have. So having a positive attitude and putting it out there will hopefully attract that back to you, and you'll get nothing but good stuff out of your build, out of the contractors and out of everyone that's basically involved in the process. So hopefully that helped you just a little bit. I know that this whole video might have seemed really light and like just everything's sunshine and rainbows and have a really positive attitude, but honestly, it's made such a difference. Taking that on board, as well as those other little things that I mentioned, hopefully makes a big difference for you. And I'd be keen to hear, your experiences if you're building a house right now, and maybe what experiences actually caused you to stress out or caused you a little bit of anxiety. So I'm thinking my next video will be about what issues have kind of arisen from my experience that kind of caused that stress and how I overcame that. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe so that I can spend more time making content like this for you, and have an awesome day.